This meeting is being recorded.
She always says that.
Always have the same voice too.
Yeah.
I think she and I are one of these days going to have a talk.
Can I listen in?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, Baruch Hashem.
Shabbat Shalom and Baruch Hashem.
But Shalom Baruch Hashem.
I have not approached this subject in quite a while. Last week we were speaking a little bit on some of the different kinds of prayer. I was speaking lightly and superficially, just trying to introduce the subject of prayer. But today I'm not talking about so much the different kinds of prayer as I am the subject of prayer in general. This is inspirational prayer, personal prayer. This is not public prayer I'm speaking of. We have rules for public prayer that all of the Hassan, the cantors that they go by, they have a schedule. They have to be taught how to be a cantor. They have to taught how to cant itself. So my hat is off to every cantor who is the Hassan of an assembly or training for that or has been, because it takes such a heart. The heart involved in being a cantor, a Hassan, is beautiful to behold. And I'm not being sarcastic at all. You should hold your Hassan, your cantor, near and dear in your heart, because their nickname is the messenger or angel of the assembly, and it is to the Hassan that the Most High goes to receive the public prayers and to give answers from the public prayers, for him to give to the assembly. So the Hassan, the cantor, actually has a viable work being done before the Most High, the way the Most High wants it done.
Rob.
Yes.
So that's what the seven messengers to the assemblies are in Revelation, then, right?
Exactly. That is exactly right.
Okay. Interesting.
Now, prayer in its simplest forms is our expressions and our conversations and our thoughts with the Most High. That's as basic as I can break it down. Okay? You can also say with all of your psyche, your psychology, your emotion, your intellect, and everything heartfelt. Okay? Now, we know from science studies over the last 25 years that the heart has dendrites and neurons, groups of them in the heart, which render the heart capable in its physiology of sending and receiving messages and or thoughts. And they've counted based on the extent of what's available through what technology is in existence, that the heart sends 5,000 messages to the brain for every message the brain sends to the heart. So which one is running the show, the heart or the brain?
Heart.
Now, there is a part of the brain that we call the mind. That part of the brain is capable of thinking, producing thought, but the brain itself is not capable of making a decision. However, the brain follows orders precisely, completely, and totally without fail or compromise. Now, I'm mentioning this because you need to understand the vehicles that are available that carry your prayer within. Remembering that we are spirit beings, beings of light, living within a house. Not discounting the fact that the blood carries the evidence of us and all that we are to the Most High all the time. Remembering that the earth and the sky are witnesses for us and against us all the time. Okay. Now, the question that was asked of me years ago, and the question has been asked of me recently, is there a way for us to identify the premise and reasons for why prayer is sometimes answered and sometimes not answered that we can understand? So I did some research. So I'm going to share some of that research in today's lesson. And if you find me veering off, or I seem to go on a rant, or I lose track of things, or I displease you in some other way, let me know. I'm not taking that medicine anymore. So I don't expect to fall asleep or anything while we're talking. Now, to begin with, I'm going to ask you to take everything you've known about prayer before now and put it on the side, put it on the table, put it in your pocket just for this lesson. And once we finish with the lesson, take everything that you put on the table or in your pocket and mix it all together with everything that I've given you. I'm not going to tell you that whatever it is that you have so far won't work or it's no good. Okay? Nobody should do that. Okay? Now, to begin with, we need to have an environment within ourselves that makes us where we can pray in such a way that is easily acceptable to the Most High, and He's willing to turn His face our way, and He's willing to receive it, to answer it. To begin with, we know that He answers all prayer, just based on what's in the Tanakh. We know in the writings of Daniel, that whenever he was in, I believe, the lion's den, if everybody remembers the story, and the messenger arrived, and he said, sorry that I was delayed. I was engaged with the adversary for a little while. He says, but rest assured, your prayer was answered from the beginning. There was no delay in him giving an answer. He heard you from the beginning. It just took me a few days to get it to you. The answer. That provides us a premise right there that we know prayers are answered. Now, depending on when we receive the answer is based on what the Most High chooses and what's going on with the messenger or spirit that's assigned to bring us our answer. Because it's obvious he didn't send it by telegraph or by phone. He sent it by a messenger. Okay? We have no evidence in Scripture that would show us it's any different today. But with the fact that it comes by messenger raises the notion of a few other things that need to come with prayer, both our initial prayer and its answer. Okay? First off, there has to be some environment, some kind of echad. The reason we say this is because in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, within the happenings of the first day, we have the environment being developed to where we can say day one. Now, we know that he divided the light from the darkness, and the light, it says, he chose to call day, which is where we get the use of the word day for the rest of the time in all of scriptures. But every time we use the term day, we're actually making reference to the light that he separated from the darkness. That means there's a difference between prayer in the day or the light and prayer in the darkness. Just to begin with. Secondly, in day 1, there in chapter 1 of Bereshit, that word one is echad. It is not yakid. Yakid is like the mathematical unit number 1, with one pair of pants, one vehicle, one marriage, one father, one mother, one child, one unit of anything. That is Yachid. Echad is oneness or agreement. It doesn't mean a Siamese twin, and you can't make a difference whether it's one child or two, even though it's one body with two heads. We're not trying to get into that kind of a thing. Echad means oneness or agreement. If you were reading the New Testament where Yeshua said, I and the Father are one, he wasn't talking about him and the Father being the same person. He was talking about him and the Father being oneness and in agreement, complete agreement. Okay. So if Patrick, for example, says to me that he's in agreement with me, you could just as easily render that Patrick is echad with me in that moment.
Thank you.
Quite welcome. So first we have to have echad. What would we have to have it about? First off, if we're going to be praying to the Most High, we have to have echad with him and all that is encompassed there. Presumably there would be covenant, there would be commandment, there would be promise, there would be blessing, there would be the environment for all of that. There would be the development of belief, trust, and faith. Some kind of communication. Something is being revealed. Something is being given. Something is being received. Both ways. Now, the next thing that really helps in this, though it's not actually necessary, is fruits of the Spirit. A pagan can pray. A Gentile can pray. Somebody under a different religion, if they worship the sun and the moon and the stars, if they worship spirits, if they worship nature, their prayers are still heard. Even in the New Testament where it says, it speaks of praying amiss in the King Jimmy, and that's why you don't have the answers you're looking for. But it never says you did not get an answer. And there's never ever a definition or a reason saying what that means that you were praying amiss. We'll cover that too if we get time. Now, the Most High's holiness, his set apartness, his Kodesh. That's got to touch us, either in us initiating prayer or receiving an answer. One way or the other, some part of that, on some level, on some degree, is going to be a part of that process. If you feel the warmth of the sun when the sun's rays first in the dawn of the day, when the sun first comes up, guess what? You're feeling his Kodesh. Reason is he's responsible for all of creation. and all creation is evidence of his Kodesh. Okay. Now, there's one of the fruits of the Spirit called humility that we should be asking for, not because we want to be anybody's doormat, but because we have to rid ourselves so much to have humility in our life that it makes it a lot easier for the Most High to communicate with us in a way that we can receive it. But now we're talking about, in this portion, prayer itself. To understand prayer, we got to understand everything that provides an environment for it. Okay? If we want to take our prayer from being hit and miss, willy-nilly, sometimes answered apparently, sometimes not apparently, then we've got to investigate this. Okay? I think it's a worthwhile thing to learn. So instead of somebody saying to you, I know he answers your prayer, so I want you to pray for this for me because he doesn't seem to respond to me a lot. As though we got a side door, a back door, or a trap door in before seeing the Most High, and he's going to give us a better audience than the person asking for that. Now, is it true that the Most High will answer some people's prayers, but he won't seem to answer other people's prayers? By appearance, it would seem so.
Right.
But with investigation, is it really so?
No.
Well, our lesson today will help you answer that within yourself. Okay? I'm going to tell you a couple of things now that you haven't heard before, not even from me.
Hmm.
Now, there's two ways that we have to address this. We got to reverse engineer on one part, and then we got to start from the other side and engineer, and the two are going to have to meet each other. Okay?
Do it.
Now, we know that in Bereshit, he developed day and night because he separated the light from the darkness and he called the light day. What did he call the darkness?
Night.
Say again?
Night.
Say it again for everybody.
Night.
Yes, specifically evening. Okay? At least in English. Now,
Oh,
there's a
shoot.
relationship between evening and night. And thank you, Mark. Now, believe it or not, there's a difference between prayers in the light and prayers in the dark, but not for the reasons that you might conjure in your imagination. Now, let's look at the nature of prayer. I mentioned to you that it's conversation, it is thoughts, our emotions, our intellect, our heart, in every way we conceive of communicating a message of our sentiment at any moment to the Most High in the best way we know him. Okay, will everybody agree with that idea?
Yes, sir.
Now, How much would you say you understand the Most High's Kodesh, his set apartness, his holiness? Any better now than you did 2 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yes,
Well, let's hope that's enough as we proceed and go forward. Now, would there be any other name for his Kodesh, his set apartness, his holiness, besides Kadosh? Any other name that you know of?
Righteous,
Kahor,
Say again?
Kahor,
righteous,
Two of you talking.
Clean. Okay, that is suggested sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that statement. But we need something broader, more inclusive. Remembering that it is said of the Most High that he is omnipresent and he is omnipotent. Would everybody agree with that?
yes,
Okay, remember that. If he's omnipresent, is there any place that he's not present?
No,
no,
Would you agree that he did everything in creation, made it happen through whatever way we want to describe it? And that everything that is there because he made it so, one way or the other? Would you
Yes.
agree with that?
yes,
yes,
Would you agree that everything that is beyond what we know of creation is there because of him as well?
yes,
Okay. Then we got to approach something. In Bereshit, in Genesis 2, it says that on the seventh day, he did what?
rested,
Shabbat.
right,
What that word means, he rested. He Shabbat. He receded from his labor.
right,
He rested. Well, didn't you guys just agree with me that he's omnipresent?
yes,
Well, if he's omnipresent, for him to recede from his labor and rest, where did he go? He's omnipresent.
he went to his rest,
He's omnipresent. Where would he go that he's not there already?
he's there, but he just ain't working.
But if he's omnipresent, how would he recede from labor, being omnipresent?
by
Would
stopping
he still
the
be
labor,
present within that labor?
yes.
he's present,
by
he's
stopping
just,
the
he's just
labor.
present,
I'm presenting this as a conundrum because I want your mind to be thinking and be active. I want you to open your mind to something that is there that you have not previously considered. I want your mind to become a little more nimble and flexible from the heart,
I
just
can-
for a moment.
I can see him sitting on the throne, just observing all he created for the last 6 days.
On the throne, huh?
Well,
Okay,
wherever he sits, where,
no,
okay.
just for simplicity,
I don't see it.
All right. Well, that's what you're saying. I won't try to take that from
Right.
you. Okay.
Present.
Now, Patrick,
Yes,
if you're looking from a distance and you see a forest, how would you describe it? Or would you just say that's a forest?
it all depends,
Okay, well, it's not a mathematical question.
no,
It's
I
not a
know,
psychological question.
oh, I mean, it might just be a forest if it doesn't look like it has any life, but if it looks like it has life, then you're gonna to expound on the foliage of the trees and the going and everything else in the area. It's going to be a broader spectrum than if you go to that same forest in the winter. You know,
Okay, not to worry. I'm not going to show you any ink blots after this lesson.
oh, come on. I love ink blots.
Now, if you're standing in the middle of that forest and you see trees all around you, would you
Okay.
still call it a forest? Would you still see the same picture you saw from a distance?
No, you wouldn't. It'd be different because you'd be in it.
Like the old saying, you wouldn't see the forest for the trees.
Yes. Now, think about this for a moment because we're getting ready to jump in. And if you don't want to receive what I'm going to say, it's okay with me. Just take it to him first and let him work it with you. Okay? Just like when you put all the trees together and they're bundled up together in your vision, we call them a forest. Well, when the Most High receded from his labor, that was activity that he receded from, and it said he rested, he Shabbat. That's the word for rested, Shabbat. Okay? And I would say to you, Shabbat describes his rest as though somebody's not a part of it. The only other way we have to describe his rest, because we're talking about his state of being, we are talking about his Kodesh. Everything about him is Kodesh. Everything that he does is Kodesh. All of his work, his labor, his activity is Kodesh. His name is Kodesh. His right hand of power is Kodesh. When he first created the first human being from the redness, not red clay, but redness, Adama, he was Kodesh. So when he receded from his labor and he rested, what he was doing, and his rest, another name for that is seeing his Kodesh. It is a state of being. In most language, in English language and other every other language, a verb generally has two states, either state of being or activity, action. What I'm speaking to you as far as this is concerned is a state of being. When we are alive and we're breathing, we have brain function, we are considered to be a sentient being alive. We show evidence of being alive, being living. So I'm suggesting to you that it's his Kodesh, his holiness in its entirety, that entire state of being of all that he is, his wholeness as a state of being that he never departs from, that he wants us to be a part of. What the man and woman lost initially whenever they became disobedient in the garden, and the reason they had to leave the garden, and the reason he did not want the meeting of the tree of life again after that, was Kodesh. When they left the garden, he did not mention the possibility of repentance, of atonement, of forgiveness for what they did. Instead, he sent them from the garden. He did not want to change the environment, the Kodesh of Gan Eden. So he sent them out. He did not want the repair work for the disobedience to happen in the Kodesh of Gan Eden. So what I'm sharing with you, that seeing his Kodesh from a distance, the easiest way to describe it from the beginning would be his state of being. He rested. Being omnipresent, his entire existence is dependent on his state of being. His entire state of being and omnipresent, being omnipotent, is Kodesh. Everywhere and every place that we've seen that he exerts his presence. Everything that he reveals about himself and he exerts his presence in revealing it, it is Kodesh. Whether it's take off your shoes for the ground, the bush is burning without deteriorating, or his breath that we breathe every moment, every part of his revealed presence is Kodesh. It says that he made us with his image. Let us make man with our image. I would say to you that us as a being of light, that image of the Most High, his breath of life that we breathe every moment. If you want to see how quickly something happens, then let that breath of life leave your body and count the seconds. Another thing that happens when that breath of life leaves is every sign and resemblance of life, which would also include, on some level, some degree, Kodesh. And that is extended to us as his creation from him. Depending on what we're doing to nurture that Kodesh that we are in, and if we do not nurture it, depends on how much of it we can feel at any given time or notice. Mostly we credit nature with being beautiful and anything natural being beautiful. That portion of his state of being, Kodesh. You ever stood and watched the ocean from a beach? You ever stood on a mountain and looked all across the tops of the landscape? You ever been on the edge of a valley and looked out and see the broadness of the valley? You ever looked at a wide expanse of any part of the earth and it was not breathtaking?
Mhm.
Perhaps what you're feeling there is the Kodesh within creation that is part of him that's keeping it all together.
Mhm.
Now, that is Kodesh in the most general sense. in order for him to hear from us, he's got to have provided some kind of loci or loci. He's got to have provided some kind of modality, a mechanism, some way for him to receive from us anything. And likewise, some way for him to respond to that. How did he choose to reveal himself? First in dreams, and as we read all through Torah, we begin to see how he chooses to reveal himself more and more. First, a voice that can walk, a voice that can be seen, to appearing in dreams, to being heard in dreams. For him also to have armies of locusts and gators and flies and blood and everything else, all within his Kodesh. Is there any part of him that would not be or could not be Kodesh?
No.
Now, we have another hint within the Birkat Kohanim. The other hint is how we asked the Most High to bless us, turn his face to us, shine his face on us. And to say shine and introduces us or gives us an impression of something imminently close to where we can feel it, such as in some kind of radiation, translucence, something that gets our attention. Now, he's told us in Devarim, the definition of life is to have a relationship with him and to love him, to seek him. And that would be life in abundance. He tells us in the New Testament to seek his kingdom and his righteousness first. Seems to be a very interesting reference and cross-reference there. Yeshua was known to say at least once that all authority had been given to him in heaven and earth. And he had said in his public teaching that he brought the eternal life with him as a gift. In John 17, he defines eternal life as knowing the Father. In Matthew, he says, again, I have all authority in heaven and earth given to me, and I am the only one who knows the Father, and whoever I choose to reveal him to would know the Father. Now, if you don't know the Father, What reason do you have to pray to him? If you don't really know if God exists, why would you bother to pray to him for answers and for changes? There's a lot of background here. Why would you pray if you don't believe anybody or anything is going to hear you and be capable of responding to you and answering you? So we have to establish in one form or another, one way to another, that who and what we're praying to is capable and able to answer and give an answer based on what we're asking in our prayers. There's got to be something there for us to bother praying, something that we believe, something that we trust, something we have faith in. And if all we're going to do is just quote scripture in the face of that, then we are afraid to express that belief and that trust in our faith in a realistic way. The easiest way that we express belief, trust, and faith is in prayer and praise and worship. So while I'm establishing what his rest, his Shabbat looks like as Kodesh, I'm also attempting to establish we have got to have some kind of working belief, trust, and faith to attain to being able to pray. I'm attempting to share with you that from wherever we're at, we're attempting to connect with him in whatever mode he's in, whatever he is. We're believing, we're trusting, having faith with however and how much he has chosen to reveal to us he who's there. Everybody with me thus far?
Mhm.
So we've had enough revealed to us to recognize that there is Kodesh. Now, if you'll turn in your scripture to the prophet Zephaniah, please.
Can you tell me a highlighter, please?
Huh?
Could you give me a highlighter, please?
Tell me if it works.
But,
Bevukasha. Everybody there? Zephaniah? Anybody there?
Yep,
Yes, sir.
Somebody there?
yep.
Well, if nobody is here, maybe he can answer too. I would like everybody to read in their particular translation from Zephaniah chapter 3, verse Zephaniah
First what?
17, chapter 3, 17.
Okay. I would agree.
Would somebody please read?
Yahweh your Elohim is in your midst, the mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will be silent with his love. He will be joyful over you with glad song.
Now, do you see where it says he will be silent?
Yeah.
The literal translation there is he will quiet you.
Oh.
And he does that with two things. His Kodesh. His Kodesh is the seat of his power. And that's where his fruit of the Spirit emanates and comes from. Because he's all spirit. So there within his omnipresence, he is all spirit. So therefore, from every part of him comes fruits of his spirit. His quiet. There's another word for his quiet, but you never guess what that is. His Shabbat, his rest.
Hmm.
Now, this is the way he entreats us. This is the environment from the Most High that he receives our prayer. So how difficult is it to conjecture and conjure an image within you of him joys over us, even in song and singing, that he was able to quiet us in all of our emotions and every tangent of our emotion and all of our psyche and all of our psychology. He is able to go beyond that with how much of his love that he reveals to us.
So he's the one that quiets when you go to kneel down to pray before you go to bed.
Yes.
1,000 things going on in your brain, and not too long after you kneel down and go into any type of a prayer, all of a sudden you just feel calmed. That's who that is. That's who's doing it. Huh.
Hey, Rabbi, I got someone here that wants to say Shabbat Shalom to you.
Shabbat shalom, young man. Hey, hey,
Good job.
hey. You know, one of my favorite cartoon characters is,
Yeah.
you like to watch cartoons?
Yeah.
You ever heard the cartoon where the guy says, hey, boo boo, there's a picnic basket there. Let's hurry and get it before the ranger sees us. He was my favorite.
Boogie Bear.
Yeah, Yogi Bear.
They
Hey,
don't-
Boogie.
All right, awesome.
Now, if you'll turn with me now to the fourth chapter of the writing of Hebrews in the New Testament.
Chapter 4 and what?
Hebrew.
No, I know.
Or what?
What chapter, verse in chapter
Well,
4?
since you've asked me that question, Patrick, start at verse 1 and please read.
Let us fear therefore, or else while there is a, wait a minute, hold on, let me get the light here. And it's a firm promise of entering into his rest. Anyone among you be found coming short of entering. For to us also is the announcement, as well as to them. But the word they heard did not benefit them, because it was not combined with the faith of those who heard it.
What
Well,
verse did you just read from?
Just read
1 and 2.
verse 2. I just finished verse 2.
Good, read it again.
For to those also it is the announcement, as well as to the, wait a minute. For to us, gosh. For to us it is also is announcement, as well as to them. But the word they heard did not benefit them, because it was not combined with the faith of those who heard it. But we who have believed do enter into rest. Please
Read verse 3 again, 2 or 3 times.
Okay. But we who have believed do enter into his rest. But as he said, and then you want me to go back and read it again?
Yes.
But as we who have believed do enter into rest. But as he said, as I have sworn in my anger that they will not enter into my rest. For behold,
So whose rest is it?
it's his rest.
Yes, the same rest we started with in better sheet.
Yeah, he didn't give it to us. All of his Moedims are his, they're not ours.
Go ahead, finish reading.
Okay. Let's see. But as he has said, I have sworn in my anger that they will not enter in my rest. For behold, the works of Elohim existed from the foundation of the world.
Yes.
As he said of the Shabbat, Elohim rested.
Now, what's the word that should be? What does Shabbat mean?
Rest.
Okay. Instead of saying Shabbat, use the word rest. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. As he has said of the rest, Elohim rested on the seventh day from all his works.
Does that make any more sense?
Yeah.
Now, consider when Moshe came down from the mountain and his face was all lit up and bright from being in his presence.
Mhm.
What did Moshe have?
Kadesh
Say again?
or Kadesh.
Yes. He had his Kodesh. And what did the people say?
We cannot look.
What was it that the Moshe had then that the people did not have that scared them? At
Kodesh.
Kodesh.
Yeah.
They didn't even desire any part of it. You go talk to the Most High, and you come back and talk to us.
Yeah.
See, all throughout, we're still talking about the same thing.
Mhm.
Now, when the dawn is first breaking, with daylight coming in, when that sunlight starts hitting the earth, is there any part of the earth that can reject it or choose not to receive that sunlight?
No.
So it goes everywhere that it's destined to go.
Mhm.
Think about that for a moment. Now, if you're a fish in the water, how much knowledge and understanding do you have of the air?
Not much.
Without putting in any what ifs or any conjectures or anything, fish in the water, that's his life. So what comprehension or understanding does he have of the air?
Probably none.
Right. Yet still us as air breathers, and we live in this ocean of air. What understanding do we have with that fish's understanding?
None.
So us and that fish in the water, we appear to be foreign to each other.
Mhm.
But we're foreign only because we don't have what each other has.
Right.
Now, when we pray, we are attempting to use everything within us to get his attention the best way we know how. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Hello, I'm this little atom within a molecule inside this amoeba in your universe and your scheme of things, trying to get your attention. That's how we feel sometimes. Or else people will depend on his compassion and kindness and gentleness Well, listen, I haven't ever really asked you much of you. I'm not asking for much now. You know, I'm only asking for this, you know, you're who you are. So, you know, it's only this. I'm not asking for much. Well, you never heard that approach before?
Yes, I have. I know a person that prays like that daily.
Or, look, this means all the world to me. If you'll do this for me, then la-di-da-di-da-di-da. Transactional in the house of Yaakov. Or the other approach, listen to what I'm saying to you. I'm coming to you now. I really mean it. But if you're not going to give me what I'm asking, well, I may not come back here to pray for you with you anymore. The ultimatum. And all we really need is what he says, is to love him, have a relationship with him, be intimate with him, seek his kingdom and his righteousness first. In all of these areas, what is he really trying to get us to be a part of?
Him.
His Kodesh. His Kodesh gives
why-
us that delight in his Shabbats and his rest. It says that we would delight in his, it's commanded that we would have a delight in his Shabbat. What it's really saying is to delight in his rest. Delight in his Kodesh.
Right.
Remember the Shabbat. Remember his rest. To keep it Kodesh. Speak on behalf of his Kodesh. Speak on behalf of his rest to keep it Kodesh. We don't have Kodesh. It's got to come from who?
Him. Most High.
Yes. In order for us to be able to be obedient to that commandment. Speak on behalf of his rest, his Kodesh, and keep it Kodesh. When we address him, we're always addressing him by being before him. When we address him, we're always addressing him, getting his attention. To get his attention, his face has to face us. So, in order to do that, we got to turn to the Briket Kohanim. Anybody remember where that's at?
Numbers chapter 6. Chapter.
Yidbareka Yahweh Vishmareka. Yair Yahweh Panavaleka Vishkaneka. Yisi Yahweh Panavaleka Vayasim Lacha Shalom.
Number 6.
Has anybody ever heard that?
Yes.
Number 6.
From you.
In reality, The truth is, the Brit Kohanim is so important. The Most High says right after that, this is the way that the sons of Aharon will put my name upon the sons of Israel, and I will bless them. He never told us to put his name on anybody else besides the sons and generations of Israel. He never said he would bless anybody else besides them. But in order for that to happen, the sons of Aharon have to ask for the Most High to bless you and keep you, that his face shine upon you and be kind to you, and that he lift up his whole countenance to you and give you shalom, fruit of the Spirit. Now, only the sons of Aharon doing this when everybody is achad. Every person in the group is when we can do that blessing. Okay? At the same time, when you go before him, when you get your heart right, to where you can actually move through the motions for him to do that for you, and for him to extend his Kodesh to you, to find you acceptable in that moment, since he's omnipresent, how long do you think it'll take for him to hear your heart? Not just your words out of your mouth, but to actually hear your heart. Because your sentiment is heartfelt, not mind felt, not brain felt, heartfelt. The Most High has never offered you an intellectual stimulated conversation. He's never offered you an intellectual banter back and forth in dialogue. He said he knows the heart. He plumbs the heart. He searches the heart. He judges the heart. He writes on the heart. So where do the prayers have to come from?
Heart.
Heart.
Yes.
Just like everything
But if
else.
they're only in your intellect and your emotions, it takes a little longer for them to get through the heart. There's only one way he receives them, from the heart. What must the heart be for him to receive them?
Here. Or Kodesh.
Kodesh, yes, again. Thank you. Now, it doesn't say it'll be all of his Kodesh, but some degree, some level, some part. And he gave us that through that part of his spirit that he gave the right hand of power to direct, so that it could bear enough fruit. Because all of the New Testament says that his spirit is Kodesh, set apart and holy. It's always true, and it's always redeeming. Since we know that about his Kodesh, and everything about him is Kodesh, and everything we get because he is Kodesh is true, and everything we get from him through his Kodesh means every part of him that he reveals, every part of his Torah, every interaction, every answer to prayer, means it has to be given to us Kodesh because it comes from him. It's got to be true. And every answer to every prayer has to also be what? Redeeming. Now, let me ask you a question. if, and I really hate this word in English, is the biggest and worst word in the English language. If you know that he's got to give you a part of his Kodesh enough to hear your prayer and make sure you have enough of his Kodesh for you to receive the answer to his prayer and for it to play out in your life or somebody else's life. And if you can experience that, how much time in prayer would you want? Now, if you start experiencing this, how much of it are you going to desire more and more of? And every part of that Kodesh that you get has also got fruit of the Spirit, and it's also true, and it's also redeeming each and every time, all the time. Would you start thriving on that prayer time and that prayer life? Let's see. Do I spend some more time at the Most High in His Kodesh praying? Or do I go to the club and have a night out with the boys? Gee whiz, let me see. You start getting the idea? I got to tell you, in all of my life, and I've had a few days of it, I have never had a night out with the boys. I've been out with my brother a few times, and he's had a night out with the boys, and when he was alive, and I've had to bring him home sometimes. But think about this for a second. If you know this process, and you know that every time you get before him, on your face, on your knees, sitting, standing, and you're going to experience this Kodesh, giving and receiving, because he's enveloped you with it from him, because we don't have any that belongs to us. It's all his.
Right.
How much time would you want to be spending with him?
All.
Now, everything I've just described so far is the environment and modality of prayer. Whether we're going to say a really quickie prayer with him, or we're prepared to spend the next hour in prayer, or we're going to devote the whole day to prayer. Or as long as you're able to maintain consciousness. Or if somebody says, well, I'm in prayer and fasting. Are you really? We wouldn't have any clue about prayer if it wasn't for the Most High revealing it to us.
Mhm.
We wouldn't have a clue about him if he hadn't revealed himself to us. Why do you think we have atheists and agnostics and some of these others? Only one reason. Because for his reasons, he has not revealed himself to them. Each one here today, you're not here because you like me. You're not here because you can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. You're here because the Most High has revealed himself to some degree between us one way or the other. You want more of his Kodesh. You want more of his presence. You want more of your prayers answered. You want more of him. No matter who would be speaking on my end, it's him that you're really after, as it should be. So this thus far, I've tried to give you a background and a better understanding so that you have an idea. Prayer is connecting with him. Prayer is him accepting what you're saying and extending himself to you and making sure that he receives from you and he answers you. It's the environment. So how do you feel about times whenever you say, okay, yeah, I'm right here and I really need you now. Blip, back to everyday affairs. Can you, with that moment, can you bring everything up from the heart to him in that moment, Kodesh? Or do you have to look up to him and say, I really need you now? And that moment, see if he extends that Kodesh all the way down to the heart to hear you from the heart? Are we able to generate an environment within us for that to happen routinely every time? The answer is yes. That's the reason it says, think on all things good. Only goodness comes from the Most High. Goodness only comes from the Most High. Now, we got to get to the part about whether or not his answers are there. How come some answers seem to come, some answers don't come? Is everybody with me on the environment necessary for us to engage in prayer with him?
I am.
Is everybody okay with what I've said so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the Most High at one time told Moshe, don't pray to me about this anymore. I don't want to hear it. Remember what he said? You're not going to cross over. You didn't do what I told you. You stole my honor. Now, that's one of our areas, our passages we use as a premise to understand things again. Number one, it shows us how even Moshe could steal from the Most High. So if you want to know why some prayer hasn't been answered right off, there's that matter of theft somehow, some way. He really likes his honor. And he wants to get honor from our lives at every turn. And he tells Moshe, don't pray about this anymore. Why do you think he said that? Because every prayer that he hears, what's he honor bound to do by his word?
Has to answer it.
Yes. So the only prayers that he's not going to answer are what?
The ones that he said don't pray about it anymore.
The ones that he doesn't let you utter or get to him.
Mhm.
Now, what if you pray about something where he's decreed differently?
Well, he's already answered it.
Yes.
Just because you didn't like the outcome doesn't mean that doesn't mean that he's going to change it just because you didn't like it.
Now, I want to tell you about an experience I had briefly. You can believe me or not. It's okay with me. I had a student of mine. His wife had a heart attack when she was sitting on the tailgate of his truck in a Walmart parking lot. This has been close to 20 years ago. She was taken to the local hospital. She was laid out on a gurney. He called me. He says, can you come, please? When I got there, he said, she's already dead. He said, will you pray to him for her to come back?
Hmm.
Now, how much faith is that? Now, his two daughters were with him. So they told the doctors that I was their rabbi. And the doctor said, okay. So I went in with her. They went in with me. His two daughters were on the other side of the gurney from me. He was on the same gurney, and he was to my left. Just in case you think I don't remember the moment. I laid my right hand on her head, my left hand over her heart. I lifted up my face to the Most High. He let me hear a conversation between the right hand of power and this woman. He was asking her, will you let me do you mind if I send you back? She said, I'll go if you tell me to, but I really don't want to go back. I want to stay here with you. I know they love me, and I know they miss me, and I know they're crying. I know they really want me back, and I miss them a lot too, but I really don't want to leave you. While I was praying and asking, he asked her to turn back and look. In that moment, her eyes and her physical body fluttered and opened. She took a breath in her lungs and her chest where my hand was. And she looked at me. And with her mouth, she said, please, no. Her husband was just to my left. He almost passed out. Her daughters cried. She looked at me, and I could hear inside, but not outside, please stop praying. Once she felt his Kodesh, his closeness, that intimacy, no matter what she had with her daughters and her husband, she couldn't bear to leave that presence.
Right.
It hurt my heart so bad that she wouldn't come back, because I didn't know how much of that the daughters and the husband understood. And he didn't give me any words to convey to them. When I took my hands off of her, her daughters came over to me, hugged me, and cried for an hour. Now, one of the daughters whispered in my ear saying, I want what she had with the Most High. The other daughter said, I wish she hadn't left me. Now, since then, the daughter that whispered that she wanted what her mother had, she has since passed away with the same kind of heart attack and is with the Most High the same way. The other daughter felt like she had been left again and is stumbling.
Yep.
The husband is remarried and is living a lesser life. Still needs prayer. So I'm letting you see there's more than one side of this prayer. It isn't just a one-sided thing of us offering up whatever we're offering up. He is on the other side, hearing and receiving with whatever his decree on the matter is. And at times, it's just like when he has court and he asks people who are present in his court. We have it in scripture. Questions and he gets answers. So part of the prayer is what he decides to do with the prayers and what he decides to do with answers of those that are there along with the prayer that are witnessing the prayer. I'm sharing this with you because to really understand prayer, the need for prayer, the basis of prayer, and to really get involved with this with his Kodesh and with him, you got to know that this is not a light thing with him. This is not an artificial or superficial affair.
No, it's not. It's a weighty matter. Very weighty. It's not light at all. But it
There
feels
is
like.
no prayer that is a little prayer.
Mhm.
There is no praise that is a little praise at all.
None. Yeah.
And that's because of how he feels about us.
Right.
He has messengers convey things about us. Our blood conveys things about us. The earth conveys things about us. Our heart conveys things about us. And he pays attention to it. So we have to know the premise of prayer. We have to know what's going on both sides of the prayer.
Mhm.
So we can know how he chooses to answer, when he chooses for us to receive the answer, and how he chooses to package the answer, and what he decrees
Mhm.
along with the answers. Understanding his decrees is a whole different lesson.
Right. I never knew that you
Now,
could be called up to. I never knew that you could be called up to give an answer on the outcome of a prayer
oh
until-
my.
until I experienced it.
If you tell somebody you're going to pray for them and you're slack on that, you're answerable to that.
Right. Mhm.
Because if you agree to pray for somebody and you take it lightly, you hold them in your hand.
Ooh. Mhm.
That's why it says, pray for your enemies, pray for them that treat you badly, pray for them that have no mercy for you, pray for them that pursue you and attack you. Everybody deserves an intercessor. Now, I'm going to let you know something. Anyone who has a rich enough prayer life that the Most High is pleased with can pray for the dead to be raised, the diseased and sick to be healed. Anyone can fit the person to do that. Just like any righteous man can officiate over any life cycle event among Israel, its people. Anybody who pursues an active, righteous prayer life with him justifying them can pray and him answer. Nobody has a monopoly on this. And anybody says otherwise, I need to talk to them. Is everybody with me thus far?
Yep.
What about when you pray for somebody for them not to die and they die anyway? Do we just roll our eyes and say, well, he works in mysterious ways? Well, he answers prayer in different ways, and we don't always have an understanding of it. Well, the reason we don't have an understanding of it is because he didn't reveal the understanding. And if he didn't reveal it, then he chose for us not to have that. So how is that going to help the person that you're talking to? If somebody has a loved one and they just died, what answer do you give them about all the prayers that were supposed to be there for that person not to die? Because what they're experiencing right then is not the death of the loved one. They're experiencing the loss of that relationship and its activity in their life. You cannot address that. We don't have the power within ourselves as human beings to address that kind of loss. It isn't there within us. There's only one thing that will make a difference in somebody's grieving. What do you think that is, Mark?
Loving them? I don't know.
Same answer you've given for the last 2 or 3 times.
Kodesh?
It's Kodesh. That is the only thing that will minister, that will give to them any relief in their grieving. Nothing else. So if you want to pray for them, you want to intercede for somebody that's grieving, you want to pray for somebody else that's lacking faith, somebody else is pressured, somebody else that feels like they're empty, somebody else is all empty emotionally, intellectually, somebody that feels like they're not worth anything anymore, then you start asking the Most High for his Kodesh for that person. You start asking him if he will reveal himself to that person. Because when he reveals himself, he's got to reveal his Kodesh along with it so they know it's him. His Kodesh, him being spirit with his fruits of the spirit, and each fruit of the spirit is Kodesh. His Kodesh is the only thing that gets through. Every time. You like them, you don't like them. They treated you badly. They made a slave of you and your family for 30 generations. The only way to get through to that person's heart is for the Most High to reveal himself in his Kodesh. That's the only thing that'll work a change. If a person's been a mass murderer, if they've been Hitler 10 times over, the only way to get through is with his Kodesh. Now, we haven't even gotten to all the different kinds of prayer yet and how he extends his Kodesh and what it takes for his Kodesh to remain with us, what it takes for somebody to recognize his Kodesh with us. We've only thus far talked about prayer, the environment for it, the premise for it, us asking, him answering. Is everybody with me thus far? If you want a better prayer life, that's the reason I told you, ask for all of his fruit of the Spirit over and over every day, because every fruit of the Spirit is Kodesh, is true, and it's redeeming. So as you receive it and it grows within you, Kodesh is growing within you, truth is growing within you, and you're being redeemed. And if you're asking him to order your footsteps, he's ordering your footsteps in this direction as well with the fruit of the Spirit and the activity of his Spirit with it. If he's going out before you, preparing your way, then he goes out before you and prepares your way in these same things. And if you ask him to fight all of your battles for you, inside of you and outside of you, then the fruit of the Spirit is Kodesh, is true, his redeeming is happening there too. And as he gets a victory on every battle for you, inside of you and outside of you, that he fights, every victory he gets, he gives us the victory. And that process of him getting the victory and giving us the victory, he gets honor from our life for himself. Because of the way he is justifying us over a period of time as all that Kodesh and truth are and being redeemed places us in a better place with him. He's altered our direction to where we are walking with him. That's the point of the construction of those two prayers. Anybody have any questions? Okay. It's going to be controversial, but I got to turn to this part too. We're also called to pray for those that have passed on, those that are not here anymore, because they're not just sleeping in the ground. There are some who believe that they're in a sleep until they're before the master. There are some who believe that they are immediately being taught by the master. And there's reasons for these two different opposing points of view. I will say this, that as we all stand before the master, nobody is going to reason it out and question it anymore. Okay? But I will tell you this part. Those who actually go to the lake of fire, it says in John 15, if you are not bearing fruit and you choose to remain barren, then he will pluck all those barren branches from the vine, he will bundle them together and throw them into the fire. It says when he opens the book of life and your name's not in the book of life, you are going to be thrown in a lake of fire, whoever it is. Maybe there's a relationship there. I mentioned to people, all fire is the Most High. All fire is the Most High. It says that hell gets thrown in the lake of fire, death gets thrown in the lake of fire, the anti-Messiah gets thrown in the lake of fire, the beast, the false prophet, they all get thrown in the lake of fire. The adversary gets thrown in the lake of fire. Everybody who's not right gets thrown in the lake of fire. So, for those that only work based on that kind of a mathematical formula, they definitely want to get it together and do what they need to not to be in the lake of fire. For those that are not so fortunate, for those that decide on that route, I want to share with you what's going to happen. It says in most translations that those that are in the lake of fire will be tormented day and night forever. Anybody familiar with that part?
Yep.
Well, let's reverse engineer that for a moment. The word forever in Hebrew means what?
To the extent of
what-
what is known.
To the extent of what is known or the extent of known knowledge. Both equate to the same thing. That would refer to every individual, every entity, the extent of what they know or the extent of their knowledge. That is there forever. Now let's reverse engineer this a little bit more. Day and night. We know from the beginning in Bereshit in Genesis He separated the light from the darkness, and the light he called day. So, and the night he called night from darkness. So if they're going to be tormented day and night, they're going to be tormented with both the light and the chaos, the darkness.
Right.
Why? Because our original parents ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, both good and evil, light and chaos. And in the end, we made an approximate amount of choices that brought us there. Now, let's reverse engineer a little bit more. Tormented in light and chaos. What is the torment? How much it takes to get us in our choices to let go of those choices from the light and darkness, the light and chaos. And finally, release themselves from those choices.
Oh, so we have a choice.
It never says anybody in the lake of fire is going to die. Not in any culture, not in any language.
So the quicker we let go, the better off we'll be.
Uh-huh.
So it's better to be a quick learner.
Say it again, Mark.
Better to be a quick learner.
Yeah.
I got to agree with you.
Hey, you better find Prodigy real quick.
You're out of step.
Now-
You better get in step.
Yeah.
Now, please hear me on this. I'm not trying to develop doctrine or theology. I'm only telling you the definitions of the words written. If somebody's in the lake of fire because they didn't bear any fruit, or because their name was not written in the book of life, they didn't mature in fruit of the Spirit. He was not able to give him any more of his Kodesh. They were unable to be fully redeemed. They were not offered an entrance into his kingdom. They were never able to have the Father revealed to them. Is that not torment?
Mhm. Mhm.
Any questions thus far? So you know that Shabbat is his rest now. You know that his rest is actually his Kodesh.
Oh, let's go that.
You know that we need to be echad. You know that our face and his face need to be that way. You know we need a fruit of the Spirit called humility. You know we need all the fruits of the Spirit producing and reproducing all the time. Now there's one thing that we haven't covered. And that's prayer times. We need regular intervals of time with the Most High that we call prayer time. Now, generally, because of what we learned from the Avot, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, we generally believe, we accept that we got a minimum of 3 prayer times. Our offering times come for those 3 prayer times, evening, morning, and afternoon. But I would also suggest to you, instead of 3, go for the 5. We have 5 actual offering times in the offering system. We have the first offering of the day and the last offering of the day. They're called the continual burnt offering. And in between those, we have the evening and the morning and the afternoon offerings. Those are 5 offerings a day. I would suggest that the first time that you go to him in prayer in the evening before you slumber, that you make sure that for whatever previously has been going on, based on the last offering that you've given to whoever the Cohen in your gates is, if you have one, is that you ask him to bring to your mind before you slumber, before you sleep, whatever it is that you're not too observant about, whatever sin is there, whatever trespass is there, and that you would like forgiveness and atonement for that. Because this is another part. We are supposed to emulate the right hand of power as he came down as salvation, Yeshua or Yeshua. It is said that he was chosen because he was without sin. To be without sin means you have to be completely Torah observant, where you're not breaking Torah. So you would be without sin. So one of our prayers is to give us enough fruit of the Spirit, enough of His Kodesh, so that we can live and make the decisions to be without sin, that we can be fully Torah observant. So there is no breaking of Torah, there is no trespass of Torah, no disobedience to Torah. We are without sin, even as salvation is. That should be in our evening prayer before we slumber. Because every morning, as the darkness is leaving, as the evening is leaving, we are judged for the day before. So our evening prayer is the last chance we have for him to intercede. Where you can ask, please stir hearts for them to intercede for me. I don't want anything left undone. So when you wake up and he's judging you for the day before, you've done everything that's possible for the way he's going to judge the day before. And he does that every day. The second prayer in the morning times, as we rise from slumber, you would pray for you to be that honorable vessel for him to use throughout the day for his purposes to be fulfilled in his kingdom throughout that particular day, within whatever path he has you on. While you're asking for all the fruits of the Spirit over and over and over. The third prayer of the day in the afternoon is to approach him for recognition of him, praise with him, to continue growing you with his fruit of the Spirit and the presence and activity of his Spirit, because you know automatically, because the Spirit is Kodesh, true and redeeming, these things are happening. So you want to be more actively involved in this process of being grown. And so you have a prayer time, since you've already had a taste of how that day is going to go, before the day is over, you want to be in a reminder form with him in that prayer. And then before it's over, at sunset, the last prayer of the day, you want to thank him for his involvement in your life and other people's life through you, with all the fruits of the Spirit and the activity and presence of his Spirit and his Kodesh that is overflowing from you into other people's lives. And he's able to make a difference in other people's lives through you as an honorable vessel. And so we're able to approach that first prayer of the next day before our slumber again, as we finish off that day at sunset. And we haven't even talked about inspirational prayer yet. These are just our personal prayers on a daily basis. And this is not the whole context of them. I'm only introducing you to them. This is what we as Kohanim do on a daily basis. Any questions thus far? Mike, I don't know if anybody needs a break, empty their bladder, get a drink of water or anything.
You guys want a 10-minute break?
Sure.
Okay, come back in 10.
Alrighty.